Looks like we're good, Jamie.
Yep. It's redirecting to YouTube now, and it started. Go ahead.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our first meeting for the month of September. Hard to believe the June, July, and August are behind us, but let's press on. So, Anita, let's get the show on the road.
All right. Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Council of the City of Long Beach held Tuesday, September 1st, 2020 at 7 p.m. We'll have a roll call. Councilmember Delory.
Present.
Councilmember Mandel.
Present.
Councilmember Treston.
Here.
Vice President McInnes.
Present.
President Bendo.
Present.
Awesome. Let the record indicate the presence of the City Manager, Donna Gaydon, and Corporation Counsel, Simone Freeman. We will now have a salute to the flag.
Oneida, since you're the guest tonight, why don't you lead us in the pledge?
Awesome. All right. Let's do this.
All right.
Yeah, I will stand as best as I can, hopefully. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Awesome.
All right. Thank you. So I guess we can begin with the city manager's report.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We have some department heads on. And so let's start with Corporation Counsel, Simone Freeman.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good evening. So the Corporation Counsel is the official advisor, legal advisor to the City of Long Beach and all of its boards, its city manager, its city employees, and all of the officials. Just taking you through an overview, I thought it might be helpful to go over kind of the things that we've been doing in the past year, in the past few months since I started, but just overall the office in the past year. So in the last few months with COVID, we have been very active in reviewing and analyzing the governor's executive orders and the Department of Health guidelines and regulations relating to COVID. We have worked very closely with city officials to prepare the city's executive orders, our site safety plans in order to reopen citywide, including working, with city officials and city department heads on the beach, the boardwalk, and city hall's reopening. We have also been diligently reviewing, our existing leases and auditing our existing leases, licenses, grants, and also contracts. We've been doing this to ensure that they are compliant from a legal perspective, also to make certain that they contain the most favorable terms to the city in order to limit our liability. We have been advising and working with the procurement and purchasing departments and also DPW in letting of public bidding documents and recommending additional releases of requests for proposals in order to bring some of our contracts that have either, are coming up on expiration and or that we've kind of audited and figured out maybe we'll need to put out new RFPs in order to get some more competitive prices. So we've been working on that. My office currently has a RFP out for legal outside counsel services. Once again, to establish a panel of outside counsel and also to try to get more competitive costs and rates for outside counsel. We've also been working with management and city officials on updating and or developing some of the city policies. Some of them you've already adopted. Some of them we continue to still work on with the comptroller, with the city manager, and also just with everyone else that's involved with the city. We assist the acting deputy clerk. So we assist Ms. Gina with the review and fulfillment of FOIL requests. We've had she's had several, I believe, according to her numbers, we've been involved in around 30 to 50 of them this year alone. We have seen a large increase in the number of FOIL requests during COVID, and we are reviewing them in accordance with the FOIL law, also redacting anything that's necessary, working on providing fee assessments. FOIL does provide for you to charge a certain fee based on page limits, based on the hours of work that are involved. We've gotten some requests that have been pretty intense for the FOIL officer as well as my office. So we've been working together to try to come up with better ways to handle it, and also letting people know about fees being assessed. Just as a more general scope, we appear on behalf of the city in all civil and criminal actions in various courts across the states. So you've got city court, which is in the actual city hall building, state courts, which is generally the Nassau County District Court, New York State Supreme Court, the Second Department Appellate Division, and also the federal courts, which is the United States District Courts for the Eastern and Southern Districts. Our prosecution team, so Rich Barrios leads it up, has prosecuted approximately 1,000 building and zoning violations, property maintenance violations, and/or vehicle and traffic law infractions in city court, resulting in approximately $1 million in revenue for the city. And that's over the course of the last year. We also have approximately 100 actions relating to tort negligence, property damage, and/or no fault. This includes court appearances, depositions, 50H hearings, discovery motions, appeals, and oral arguments and trials, which Chuck Geiger in my office is diligently handled. As you are aware, we represent the council at meetings, hearings, and work sessions, and work on resolutions and documents for your review and answer any other questions that you might have. We also represent the Zoning Board of Appeals, also likewise at hearings, work sessions, also in Article 78s and appeals, and reviewing public notices, appearances, if we have to write findings of facts for them. We also have handled several labor and employment relation matters this year, including but not limited to grievances, mediations, arbitrations, disciplinary hearings, collective bargaining agreement negotiations, counseling memos, EEOC complaints, court actions in both state and federal courts. Our office is also currently defending and/or has defended and has gotten favorable resolutions and dismissals in some federal 1983 actions that have been, against the city or its police departments. We also have responded to subpoenas for records relating to, general litigation and/or investigations. And we also do handle the insurance aspect, the city insurance. So we solicit insurance proposals, process applications for insurance, various types, whether it's property damage, workers' comp, commercial general liability, and we coordinate with outside insurance carriers on all of our city claims. So that's just a general overview of what the office has been working on. There's currently 3 of us. We will have another assistant corporation counsel starting next week. And I think that's about it. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer or respond.
This is Karen. Simone, thank you for that overview. I know you have some great employees in your department, so thank you for all your hard work. Ms. Gayden, I would really like your assessment, along with Simone, if necessary, to chime in on the condition in which you found a lot of the paperwork in the Corporations Council when you took over at the end of February.
So for myself or Donna, because I
have to take the lead on this.
Okay.
Donna, you're on mute.
Oh, okay. When I came in February, really got into it in March. The office was short-staffed. There's a lot going on. It's been a challenge. It's been a challenge for Simone and her team for us to just get to where we understand what's going on. A lot of stuff we had to do quickly. One of the reasons Simone and I talked about going to outside counsel is because we had outside counsel working on several different cases for us. But what we thought was, and being budget conscious, that we were getting the best rates. And we recognize that the office cannot do everything. So I think the best way to answer it is we're moving forward positively, trying not to look back to what we had, cleaning it up and moving forward.
Okay, this department is critical. All roads should be going through the corporation council. They're the right-hand person to Donna. I was a little disappointed in the condition in some of the records and files in the department, and leases and contracts and procedures. And I know that we have the team in place to improve it and to continue to improve it so that we are best practices in terms of everything that goes through that office. So again, thank you both for your work.
Thank you. It for you, Simone?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, we have Greg Scott on the line, and Greg is going to talk about street maintenance, his department, and what they do for the city.
Just asked him to unmute.
Yeah, he's muted right now.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes. Good evening,
Okay.
Scott.
Hello,
Mr.
everyone.
Scott, it's
again.
Liz.
Okay. Hi, Liz. Just to give you an overview of the street maintenance department, we're responsible for maintaining and cleaning 57 miles of roadway within the city of Long Beach. We deweed the city's residential area and also the main arteries of the town, with an emphasis on the main arteries. And that's where you'll see a lot of our work is doing on Park Avenue, Long Beach Road, Broadway, because the main arteries are what you see when you ride around Long Beach the most. We also clean the residential area, and we do that 2 to 3 times a year, depending on what the weather and the season brings. We just had a storm that came out of nowhere that took us from cleaning residential streets for about 2 weeks because we had to clean up behind the storm. But our guys are out there every day, and we work really hard to keep the town looking good. We also have our sweeper program. Our sweeper program does our main arteries. We have alternate street parking on the Share Road area, Long Beach Road to Magnolia, Walnut Island Beach and Penn, and also in the North Park area. And we also have another sweeper that goes with our cleaning program, our residential guys, so that they don't have to make piles and then go pick them up. We can just let the sweeper come by and help them out. We also do potholes throughout the town, and calls that come in from the residents that tell us that there's potholes in areas. We respond, and we also take care of that. We also are the first responders for snow season, which we are preparing for now. I'm steady taking snow equipment, vehicles, payloaders to the city garage where they are being checked out for the upcoming season. With the cleaning program, one thing that I would like to reach out to the residents for is that if they could help us out with the cleaning program, because in the city code of ordinance, chapter 23, section 23-8, they are also responsible to keep the gutter to 18 inches out into the street cleaned in front of their houses. And if we can get some cooperation with that, that would help us out greatly. I spoke to John McNally about this, and I think it would be a good idea if we can possibly put that section on the city website and also on the calendar. Any help from the residents would be greatly appreciated, because what happens is we can only clean the area 2 to 3 times a year in any residential area. So once we clean an area, it takes us like 2 months to get back to that same street. So as you know, weeds grow every 2 weeks. So if the residents can help us out with that, that would be greatly appreciated. And basically, we just keep the place clean and we respond to calls. Yeah, you can reach us by calling the highway department at 516-431-7174, or you can reach us on the Public Stuff app. And I respond to those every day and complaints. And that's basically an overview of what we do. Any questions?
Scott, this is Liz. Can you repeat that phone number one more time, just a little slower?
Yes, 516-431-7174. And you can also reach us on the Public Stuff app.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome. Anything else from anybody?
All right, thank you, Mr. Scott.
Hey, Greg, sorry, Don. Greg, I just want to say, had a lot of positive comments about the cleanup post Isaias. So I just want to thank you for all of that hard work.
Yes, we worked very hard. We were ready to go as soon as the storm hit. And the minute it stopped and we can get out there on the roadways, that's what we did. Me and Tommy, we went with our crews, and you know, it came and it shut us down for a couple of hours, but then we went to get the residents back in order and open up the streets for our emergency services and to make sure we're all safe. But thank you for that, Mike.
All right, thank you. We were going to have Chief Gillespie on to talk about the beach, but we'll have him on the next meeting.
He, Donna, he's on. He's just an attendee. He called in, so I'm going to allow him to.
Okay. Chief Gillespie, you want to talk about the beach? He's on mute.
Yeah, Jamie, can you unmute him?
All it lets me do is ask him to unmute.
Yeah, we
he's
can just
not- he's
request
not
him to
available.
unmute.
There you go, Chief Gillespie.
There he goes.
All right.
There you go.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to start with, we're still doing this stuff with the culvert. You know, we started the beach with the culvert. So we're still spraying the chairs now because of the number of people in the evening that go on the chairs. I think this has helped us. We do the surveys. We have not had a case of the virus on the patrol, thank God. You know, as I go on the boardwalk, I think the things we've done on the boardwalk has really helped the whole community. The people are walking on either sides of the boardwalk. The biking is good. I don't think we had any major problems up there, especially with the lifeguards. You know, I always look for something good, and when we have something bad, and this virus really has put an impact on the lifeguards and the people that come to the beach. I think with everything that we have, I think the water got cleaner. I think the air is a lot better. I think there's more people, which is really amazing how something like a virus can make everybody exercise more. I saw people walking all over the boardwalk, all over the streets too. I am, let me see here, hold on. What we need as far as to help I think the whole city is more cameras on the boardwalk and the beaches. I think that'll help with help the police, help the lifeguards, help the fire department with the after hours swimming, and as well as the overall security. Now, we did have a little instruction on drones about a week ago, and it was very interesting. I think we're going to have to look a little bit more next season at these. It was Pat Gallagher and Michael Delory were the guys that really put this thing in motion when we looked at them, and it was very interesting. So we're going to have to review that probably again next year. We do need a new radio system on the patrol because this 8-year-old radios are all starting to die and the batteries are going. So that's something that we're going to have to look into. I want to thank the Alumni Association for giving us that opportunity to see how the drones do work. And they also gave us, which helps with our budget, the Alumni Association gave us 6 new surfboards, which is going to help us with the lifeguarding process. A thing that we have to review for next year too is the number one is the fishing on the beach, because we are getting more and more fishermen down there. In fact, when I went up and down the beach this past Sunday, there were 28 people fishing. And you know what? We brought the conservation department in to look at everything. And they recommended to us that we not stop fishing, but change the hours so we don't have swimming and fishing together at the same time, because it's only going to be a matter of time. We already have had kids step on hooks. But, we don't want anybody getting tangled up. And I hope next year we can, again, make arrangements where we can have the fishing before 9 and after 6. I think that will help. And most of it, I've also checked with the other patrols that are on Jones Beach and the town of Hempstead, which is adjacent right to us. They do not allow fishing when there is swimming. Before and after, they do. So that's just one thing we have to look at. Another thing is the volleyball, which people are withdrawing because they have not had enough volleyball this year. They are doing the right thing. They're playing before and they're playing after. What I've discussed with the city manager, Donna, a bunch of us have down there on the patrol, is looking for spots on the beach to put 3 different areas so the volleyball players can play and we don't have them interrupting with the people that pay to get on the beach. So that's another thing we have to look at in the future here. Probably one of the things that I'm really not happy with way the Army Corps of Engineers fixed the jetties. If any of the Corps Council would like a ride in the beach, I've already taken a couple. John Bendo has seen it, and Mike DeLaurie. Our city manager has been a big help this year down there, but she has noticed it too. We are losing beaches on Washington and Monroe Boulevard. We have already moved the chairs. Are you still there? Yeah, we moved the chairs back already. So that's something we're going to have to maybe bring the Army Corps back to revisit what they did, because they did not, in my opinion, as far as just the jetties are concerned, did not do a good job. How could you leave the beach and the way it was, beautiful sand. I think the beach does look beautiful, but just walk away from 6 jetties. They are the thing that keeps the beach together. And now we're starting to lose a tremendous amount of sand on about 4 of the beaches. And I mentioned 2 of them already. So that's something that we're going to have to revisit with the Army Corps. The next and probably the last thing I have for the city is the postseason. We have had in the past a lot of people coming down the beach right after we close on Labor Day. I don't know what's going to be done. We will have our emergency response team, but there will be a lot of people on the beach if the weather stays warm. Now, we have to, I think, meet together. I will meet with the city manager and John with the other officers we have down there to discuss the situation. What we're going to do, if we can close down the beach in the main park there, I don't know. That's going to have to be up to the city council because there's a lot of political things involved in it if we do close everything down, because the people in Long Beach love their beach. With that, it was a very good year in spite of all the problems we've had down there. And I thank the city council, and I thank Donna and John for really being there to help us and come down there when we need them. If there are any questions you'd like to ask me about the beach?
Okay, anyone have any?
Any questions?
Yeah, I was just asking if anyone has any questions. So apparently we lost some people due to power going out. We lost our city manager and Scott.
I'm actually back.
Oh,
I'm on the phone.
okay, Scott called in. I know we lost Mike Delory for a short period of time. Okay, I'm just getting. All right, Scott's back on the phone. Donna is trying to get in on the phone. So I
I'm
don't
still
know.
here. Can you hear me, John?
Yeah, I'm not sure how many people we lost because my lights flickered here too, but I stayed on.
The lights are flickering in my house. I don't know what happened.
No, I was going to be next. So I guess we want to see if there's any other questions for Chief before moving on.
I had a question about the jetties.
Yes.
Yes, I specifically recall that the city had informed the Army Corps of Engineers that we would not take over maintenance of the jetties because of serious concerns that we had. Is that still true?
They you know what it is? They never did them. That was the problem. They coming back. There's nothing to fix. They got to do the jetties and redo them in order for them to have any effectiveness by keeping sand. You know, that's the problem. If anybody would like to see what I'm talking about, because you actually have to see it, and the beaches are shrinking, some of them, and you know, how long has it been since we had the beach done? You know, not that long, a few years at the most, if I'm correct about it. So that's my problem I got. And I think they went with a model from like 1985. They were using the plans for that because this is what I heard. Now, you would have to ask probably. Go ahead.
Yeah.
This is Liz. I believe you are correct. They were working off an older plan because that's what was paid for.
Oh God.
So
that was terrible.
So let me.
Also, just to answer Karen's question, I don't see Mr. Mirando here, but he can follow up. That was only for the new jetties, not the beach replacements.
Yeah, so let me jump in. We probably lost John with the power outage, so really this is his area. But Karen, answer your question. Yeah, the city did not, at least last word I had gotten, the city did not accept the jetties as is, and the Army Corps is supposed to come back and inspect them at some interval. Again, John would be better to go into the detail, but they're supposed to come back and inspect them at certain intervals over the next 5 years, I believe it was, and then make a determination if they have to be redone or repaired or whatever. They didn't use, again, I'm going from memory here, this is really John's area, but they didn't put a gravel base under the jetties, which would have been the normal procedure. They just kind of laid the stones down on the sand, and as what's happening is they're settling and separating and things.
So this is the new jetties you're talking about.
Correct.
Only.
Correct. They didn't do. I think there was 6 of the old jetties
that's right, John,
they never did. And again, that's because the plan that they based this off of was a plan, like Paul said, that was done back in the 80s, I think it was. And for them to, and at that time, I guess those jetties, those 6 they didn't do, were considered in good enough shape that they didn't need to be redone. So of course that's changed since that time, but because that was the plan that approved, if they wanted to add those in, they were going to have to go back and start from scratch. which could mean we could be waiting 30 years again.
So I guess.
You know what I can't understand? After all they have supposedly the best engineers around. How could they not do them? I took you on there, and they're separating. The jetties are separating, where they're not holding the sand. If they wait the time period they're talking about, we're not going to have any sand on the beach. The beaches will be back by the dune.
Well,
And that's the truth.
Well,
you know?
that's fine, but then it'll be the Army Corps' responsibility to fix it because they still own that. So, so like I said, that's really a topic for John. I guess, like I said, we lost him. He might have lost power too.
I would love to.
I did take John Miranda on the beach and showed him last week. I showed him everything that was happening, so he has a picture of it in his mind, and maybe he could do something. To get these guys back is a hard task because they're probably all over the country, all the coast. So.
But there's also something, Paul and everybody. I believe they need to come back from, and not only for the jetties or the area within Long Beach. They need to dredge, in my opinion, the Jones Beach Inlet, because that is shrinking. You remember there was a boating accident. It hasn't been determined that I know of the cause of that, but we see the movement of the sand. There is a need for them to come back. I think we all agree. What in the short term that concerns me a little bit is the beaches and the jetties that Paul Gillespie described. When you have a high tide, a normal high tide, you don't see those jetties. And if you have any kind of decent surf after Labor Day, you'll have a lot of surfers down here. And my initial, because I'm not knowledgeable in this and I admit it, would be to post some kind of barrel, buoy, marker, flag, or something in the water at the end of the jetty, if that can be done. I don't know, but there's a short and long-term concern. Thank you.
So I guess just to wrap it up, I guess my point really is that here we are. We got we have real valuable assessment from Chief Gillespie. Thank you very much. It's September 1st, 2020. Memorial Day weekend next year. I'd really like to make sure that there's a new assessment and measures taken by the city to engage the Army Corps so that we can start working on this problem. So I guess that's the deliverable that I would love to see over the next several months.
Unfortunately, this might have to be a political thing, because to get these people back, you have to have somebody with power and to help us do this.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's go.
Karen, I think it's above us right now.
Well, look, Commissioner Mirando's been working on this. So, like I said, that's the reason we're not responsible for the maintenance of the jetties right now, because they were not satisfied with the work, and so as a result, the Army Corps is still on the hook.
Okay.
I'm on the hook.
Okay, this is Donna. Can you hear me now?
Yep. Welcome back.
Okay. So thank you. I can't get into the computer, but I can talk on the phone. Looks like I had a power surge with my computer. We've talked to John Miranda and Mr. Fabrizio. So we're reaching out to the Army Corps to ask them to come back out. So we are aware of that. We're working on getting them to come back out to take a look at the jetties that need to be done. So I just want everybody to know that we're trying to be on top of it with the Army Corps.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you very much, Donna. That's great. And thank you, City Council. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. We have Commissioner Ragona. If he's still on, he was just going to give a quick update.
I see him. He's still there. He's muted.
Hold on. Can
There
you hear
he
me
is.
now?
Yep.
Hi, everybody. Very briefly, because I don't want to take up too much time, but as you know, in an overview, the police department, well, what do? We protect life and property, but certainly in Long Beach, we do our best to ensure that we uphold the quality of life that our residents have come to know, expect, and certainly deserve by having their own police department. I'd be absolutely remiss if I did not mention the assistance that I've gotten since I've been here, and even during Beach Park days, through the department heads throughout the city. Chief Gillespie, who just finished speaking, is absolutely instrumental in assisting me in making sure that our beachgoers and those who are on the boardwalk stay safe. Tommy Canna, unbelievable. What he's done between beach maintenance and beach building maintenance and every other hat that he wears has been a phone call away from helping me daily. And Joe Brand from the Rec and Beach Park now, certainly people that I deal with every day, and I deal with all department heads, so I don't mean to leave anybody else out, but it's a team effort in Long Beach, and it makes my job so much easier. This has probably been, I'll use the word, one of the most different seasons since March that I have ever in my 35 years working for the city have dealt with. Walking into the police commissioner's position and seeing what we had took a lot of change, and change never comes easy, as we all know. We had to change the boardwalk hours. We had to change the beach hours. It went from 11 to 8, 9 o'clock on the boardwalk, the bicycling on the boardwalk. We did it all in the interest of saving lives. Simple as that, to save lives. And it's been really, really successful. I have to say, the collaboration I've had with the city manager and our city council is unbelievable. The assistance and the help that I've gotten in making decisions has made my job so much easier. When I've gone to the city manager and the city council and said, I believe we should do this, they queried me, they questioned me, but ultimately we came to a decision and they supported me. And what we've done has really, really worked. And I know, because I get a lot of feedback, our residents have been very happy with the fact that we were able to stop the large groups. And we've seen the news, 800 to 1,000 people that have been on the beach and boardwalk, not Long Beach residents, not our young adults, not us, from out of town, coming out there, throwing bottles, drinking, smoking, fighting, just not socially distancing. We had to do something. We did it. And quite frankly, it worked. It's something we've never done before. But as a team, we've come together. Again, the city manager, the city council, department heads, myself, and we made it work. As we roll into Labor Day and move forward, we know that September is a warm month. And with the whole COVID-19 pandemic, people are still looking for a place to go. So we can't take our foot off the gas, and we won't. I won't. We'll have our beach patrols out there straight through September. There'll be police officers 7 nights a week out on the beach, special officers 7 nights a week, to make sure that we're in front of it and not saying, okay, it's Labor Day and it's over. Well, no, Labor Day is just a date. That's September 7th. There's 80-degree days and plenty of people come out here. We'll be out there and we'll be making sure that our residents can go on the boardwalk, feel secure, feel safe, and enjoy the city that they live in. We're going to move forward and just see where we go with the rest of the year as we face all the issues that we have. But I can say it's been an honor and a pleasure to work with all of you getting this done. Thank you. If there's any questions, I'm here.
All right, thank you very much. The last department that will talk, department, he's in my department, is Mr. McNally.
Thank you, City Manager Gaydon. I just wanted to do a couple of really quick hits on updates. Number one, as we hope most folks are.
You're coming in very warbly.
Sorry, let me move a little bit closer. Is that better? Okay. So number one, I just wanted to confirm we made the announcement on both our website and our social media, but that the fireworks display that was rescheduled for this coming Friday has been canceled. Just by way of quick background on that, this administration inherited a contract with the fireworks vendor that essentially gave the city zero recourse or ability to make any appeals or changes. So case in point, COVID-19 hit. We realized that there was going to be no way that a fireworks display would be safe or allowed in early July. We had no ability, even due to an act of God or any given circumstances, we had no ability to cancel the contract. If we had canceled it, we just would have had to pay out the amount as if we were having the fireworks. Our only recourse was to reschedule, which was the one sort of allowance that was put into the contract. So fast forward to today, essentially the county has stated that they're not issuing any permits for fireworks at this stage of the game. So it gave both our vendor and the city an out from a higher authority. So it's canceled due to COVID. They're not issuing any permits to allow for fireworks on a county level. And we are working with the vendor to see what next year looks like, whether we carry over the existing contract or whether the city ends up putting out a new RFP. That's ongoing discussions with the vendor, but the fireworks that were previously rescheduled for this Friday have been canceled, and we look forward to, I think anybody within earshot looks forward to 2021 being something resembling a much more normal year where we can enjoy things like fireworks. Number two, and this is just backing up with Acting Commissioner Ragona said, is our boardwalk and beach hours. They've gone from 11 o'clock to 8 o'clock on the beach closing and 9 o'clock on the boardwalk closing. Just because Labor Day passes does not mean the beach and the boardwalk are less attractive places for parties, for out-of-towners to come to. And, the other side of that was we had a really strong spat of drownings take place after hours, which fed into making these rules. We are not at this time comfortable reverting back to normal hours. We want to see how the first few weekends in September go and see how it goes from there. So the entire team between the police department, beach maintenance, lifeguards, and I'm forgetting one department, all of us come together and meet regularly on the beach. Are analyzing the situation, making our best estimates at how to do this most safely. And the current assessment is right now we're not comfortable, as Acting Commissioner put up, taking our foot off the gas. So we want to assess how the next couple of weekends will go, and we'll monitor the situation and make adjustments accordingly from there, and revisit this issue in a couple of weeks. Because Greg Scott brought up our response app, which I think in the App Store is just LBNY at this stage of the game. It was originally rolled out as the response app for Long Beach. We came in, I guess, in the beginning of this year, started looking at it. We did not even have access to the app on the administration side because it was all through one employee who was no longer in the city. Some departments have done a tremendous job keeping up on the app and making sure that the correct people are put in charge of receiving the emails on this end and taking care of it and making sure that residents were aware that their complaints or concerns or job requests had been adhered to and responded to. Department of Public Works is fantastic, as were a number of others. But quite frankly, some of the people that were listed as the recipient for an email on our side, on the city side, were employees that haven't worked here for 2 or 3 years. So we've been kind of building back and reassigning the internal contacts to the appropriate people. It's been a little bit of a process. We couldn't even speak to Apple in order to get the app back on their store because it went unsupported for the last couple of years. because the city needed to enter into agreement when Apple's policies changed. So it's been a work in progress, but I would say we're 80% of the way there in terms of, at the very least, making sure that emails that emanate from the app, work orders, complaints, what have you, are getting to the right people. We've made sure all of the information that was up there for a very long time that was any longer applicable has been removed, and we'll work to rebuild the app back up to make sure that it's responsive to the current concerns and demands and needs of our residents. So that was a quick one on that one. And my last part is, in case everyone didn't already notice, welcome to Zoom. We made the transition away from WebEx that we've been using for the last several months to Zoom. And this allows us to have a much more interactive experience with members of the general public. So members of the public who are in our attendee portion of this webcast right now will be able to ask questions on agenda items and weigh in for good and welfare questions. I would just keep in mind that you're going to be limited to 3 minutes as per usual. In order to ask a question on a particular agenda item or during good and welfare, anyone that's in the attendee panel can use the raise your hand. And then Jamie, when it comes time, will announce you, unmute you, ask you to speak. Oneida will give you your 3 minutes. She's got the stop clock on her end. And the question will get asked and addressed as appropriate. I would just channel the immortal words of Len Torres and remind people to please maintain decorum. Even though we're virtual, the same rules apply, and we expect the same as what you would be willing to say in person, and make sure that, well, sometimes people that speak in person still don't maintain decorum. So we are going to do the best that we can in order to ensure that we all maintain decorum on this platform as well. And I think that's all I have, unless anyone has questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. McNally. And the only thing that I have is that I have begun interviewing for boards and commissions. So thank you all that sent in resumes or inquired. If you have not gotten back to Ms. Guma, please give her a call to set up your interview. I will be doing the interviews over the next couple of weeks, and then going to the board. We will start filling the slots because people are appointed by either the city manager's office or city council. And then for any empty slots, we will then put out additional advertisement for these empty slots and for the empty boards and commissions. We continue to work on the multi-year plan. We hope to get through the first draft by the end of next week. And for right now, that's all that I have.
Okay, and I see we got Commissioner Mirando back. While you were gone, Paul Gillespie came up with about 3 pages of punch list items for the jetties for you. So we'll tell him to email you the list. But all right, so thanks everyone for those updates, and I guess Oneida, we can move on to the agenda.
Hey, John, I just have one question. Did anybody have difficulty hearing John McNally, or was it just me?
He's aware.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that was universal. I've re-angled my computer. I don't know if this makes it any better or not.
Much better. Much better.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, John.
Okay, so let's move on to the agenda.
All right, let's start with our public hearings. Public hearing ordinance authorizing financing for the cost of fiscal year 2020 to 2021 separation payments to or for the benefit of employees of the city upon separation from employment, stating the estimated total cost thereof is $2,700,000, appropriating said amount therefore, and authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $2,700,000 bonds of said city to finance said appropriation.
Okay, and Donna's
President Bendo, were you going to call the other item first, the 2 off streets first?
we can do that if we don't want to have them sit around and listen to our stuff, boring stuff. Yeah, Yeah, okay, why don't we do that then?
Okay. All right, so let's go back to our off-street parking. Public hearing resolution granting waiver of off-street parking requirements regarding premises 901 West B Street, street floor, Long Beach, New York, regarding skincare and home goods retail store.
Okay, and I guess that's Marissa, right?
Yes.
It's gonna
hi.
speak. Hello, so can you just tell us all a little bit about what your business is gonna be?
Sure. So it's going to be a natural, non-toxic, eco-friendly skincare line and handmade home goods.
Okay,
Good for the inside and good for the earth.
all right. Now this is the spot next to the West End Library branch, right? That used to be the game room?
Exactly, yes.
Okay. And about what do you anticipate your hours being?
10 to 7, 7 days a week.
Okay. And how many employees do you anticipate having?
Probably 1 to 2 in the first year.
All right. And deliveries, do you expect to get deliveries made?
Not a ton, maybe 1 to 2 per week, but not big shipments.
Okay. All right. Does any of the council members have questions?
In following Len Torres as well, would you be willing, if I know the area, so I don't know if there's room to have a bike rack?
I'm exploring it.
That's all we can ask. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you're aware parking's not a big
Yeah.
commodity down there. So
Yes.
if it gives customers a place, an easier way to get to you.
Yes.
Um,
I'm definitely exploring it.
okay. And any questions from any of the other council members? Okay, then I guess we can open up to questions from the public, and I'll let our Zoom experts figure out how they're doing that.
Yeah, so if any of the attendees have a question, use the raise your hand function. I'm not seeing any. Jamie, yourself? Oh, we do have one.
Yes,
Hold on.
Eileen Hession.
Surprise, surprise, it's Paul, it's not Eileen.
Okay.
I want to ask about the enforcement of staying to the right on the boardwalk. We have a number of people.
Well, Paul, this is not the time for that.
Topic.
That would be a good and welfare issue.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay, come back for good and welfare. All right.
Looks like no one else.
No one else? Okay. So that was easy. So let's move on. I don't know if you, Marissa, you're welcome to stick around. We'll be voting on it later on, after we get to the voting.
Okay.
You could stay if you'd like, or, I'm sure you'll be informed tomorrow on the result.
All righty. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Best of luck.
Also, just wanted to say, President Bendo, if you'd like, we can actually go into the voting as of now for each off street to just get it out the way.
Sure.
it's
Why
up
don't
to you.
Sure. Why don't we do that? Well, why don't we do the other public hearing for the other property as well, and then we'll do those two.
All right,
Yes.
sounds good. Good. All right, so just give me a second. All right, and public hearing resolution granting waiver of off-street parking requirements regarding premises 240 West Park Avenue, street floor, Long Beach, New York, regarding personal training studio.
Okay, and is that Daniel? Are you speaking on that?
Yes, I am.
Great. And again, could you just tell us a little bit about the business?
It's going to be a personal training studio. It's basically going to be 1-to-1 or upwards of max 3-to-1. You're always there with a coach, and it's all based around personal training. I've been doing personal training for about 18, 19 years now, and looking forward to open up a space of my own.
Great. Okay. And this is over next to the Edward Jones office, right?
Correct. My neighbor right next door.
Yeah. Okay. Same question. I mean, do you anticipate a number? How many employees do you anticipate having?
Just myself and one other person.
Okay, and if you're doing small groups, then I expect you're not expecting a lot of people. And
No, even with COVID right now, with the capacity at most is going to be 6 people. So
Okay.
6 people at most will be, and most people will walk there anyway.
okay. All right. Do we have any questions from the council members?
Just following up again, would
Bike
you
rack,
really
go ahead.
look into a bike rack in the area of your business?
Yes, actually, I called City Hall to see if I can leave one outside to see if it's possible. I'm waiting to hear back.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions from the council? All right. Anything from the public?
Doesn't look like
Not
anyone's
really.
raising their
All
hands.
right. Going once, going twice. And okay. So thank you, Daniel. And yeah, all right. Why don't we move on to do the voting on these 2 items?
Sounds good. Okay, so who will introduce and move the adoption of item number 2, resolution granting waiver of off-street parking requirements regarding premises 901 West B Street, street floor, Long Beach, New York, regarding skincare and home goods retail store?
I will.
I will.
All
Liz.
right.
I'll second Scott.
Okay. Mhm. Councilmember Delory,
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Yes.
Councilmember Treston,
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis,
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes. And
Awesome.
welcome and good luck. Look forward to seeing your business.
All
Thank
right.
you.
And now, who will introduce and move the adoption of item number 3, resolution granting waiver of off-street parking requirements regarding premises 240 West Park Avenue, street floor, Long Beach, New York, regarding personal training studio?
I will.
Okay. Who will second?
I will.
Okay, Mandel. And Councilmember Delory,
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Yes.
Councilmember Treston,
Yes, and best of luck to you, sir.
Vice President McGinnis,
Yes.
President Bendo.
And yes, and look forward to people losing a lot of pounds.
Thank you so much.
All right. And welcome and good luck.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
All right. And you guys have a good night. Okay. Why don't we go back to the public hearing for the bond?
It's a public hearing. Ordinance authorizing financing for the cost of fiscal year 2020 to 2021, separation payments to and for the benefit of employees of the city upon separation from employment, stating the estimated total cost thereof is $2,700,000, appropriating said amount therefore, and authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $2,700,000 bonds of said city to finance said appropriation.
Okay.
Ina's on the phone.
All right. So
Ina.
Ina's going to speak to this?
Yes,
Okay.
she's gonna speak to the budgeted amount for the bond.
All right. Ina, you just got to unmute yourself.
I unmuted myself.
Yep. We hear you.
Yeah. Yes. So, good evening, and I hope everyone is well. And this is a public hearing for the authorization for the city to borrow $2.7 million to pay for the separation payment that was actually budgeted in the city's budget for fiscal year 2021 when the budget was issued. I believe it's page 42 that states that the city is planning on borrowing $2.7 million. And that's what this authorization is for. And I'll be happy to answer any and all questions that the council members or the residents of the city have.
Helps if I unmute. All right. So do we have any questions from the council members?
I have one pretty straightforward question, if that's all right. Normally every May we run through the fire drill of we're gonna miss payroll if we don't borrow money, yada yada yada. So is that gonna happen again next May, or is this it?
So this is actually, I think, what it didn't happen last May. Something else happened, Corona, right? So if you have structurally balanced budgets, it shouldn't really happen. You shouldn't come to May, which is month 11 of a fiscal year, and realize, oops, we're running out of cash. And to not have this oops moment, I work on preparing cash flow statements so we know where we're going to be. Now, with Corona and the volatility of the revenue stream, right, I can say, well, we definitely would not have to do anything in terms of financing because we're all good with operating revenues. I can tell you right now that there is probably not a single place. Well, there's some places, but most, I think 99% of the governments are in the same situation as we are, where the revenue streams are very volatile. We really in the same position as the other governments, hoping for either state or federal bailout, meaning that we hope that they're going to step up and recognize the fact that our revenue streams had significantly suffered from all different sources of revenue, that being the state aid per capita. The state shorted us over $600,000 in 2020. We don't know what's going to happen with this $620,000, nor the fate of the whole $3 million of the state aid per capita that we receive from the state, usually toward the end of June of every fiscal year. We don't know the fate of that. Obviously, sales tax took a huge hit. Our recreation and beach revenue took a huge hit. So we were working with FEMA to get reimbursed for the expenses. They're reimbursing us for 75% of the expenses in connection with mitigating the effects of COVID. That does not cover the loss of revenue. So I hope that the best, I think, that this that we can do is to make sure that we have enough time and we know where we're going to be in May, in January.
Okay, and then I just have thank you for that. I just have a quick yes or no. Have you thoroughly vetted the schedule of employee payments to make sure they comply with every relevant contract and city policy?
So they are not okay, great question. But as we all know, the payouts, they do not necessarily follow exactly what's written in the contracts. So for some of the payouts, that certain categories, the payouts, the hours that we're allowing to be paid out are higher than what the contracts allow. And I cannot go one by one because I don't have it in front of me right now. But we both city manager and we apply a much higher level of scrutiny, I think, than was ever applied to this payout. However, as you could see, there are amounts included in this $2.7 million that were authorized long before I started with the city. So I just followed the schedule.
And all of us started with the city.
Yes, and all of us started with the city. So I followed the schedule. That's something that the city had committed at a certain point of time when those that are being paid out when they retired. And that's the schedule that we follow, yes.
Do you want to comment on the schedule since you've been with us for a little over a year on how you recognize it?
Sure. So I think that to really streamline this, and this is a lot of money. This is $2.7 million that we just basically of known retirement. But there is some cushion there, but we know that more people are going to retire in the next 10 months. And it's the retirement payouts that the city incurs each and every year are really very high. So high for the budget. We have about $80 million in our general fund budget, of which about 50%, a little bit more than that, is from the property taxes. That's a very significant portion of our budget, if not financed through the bond, would go towards satisfying those liabilities. For me, as the city controller, I think that it's important to start addressing it operationally. And I work with the city manager who has background in finance and accounting and understands these issues very well. And the way to address it is through implementing efficient time management system, so that we know that people accrue time, not through manual timesheets. They use their time and it's not getting reflected in the system by the manual timesheets, the same timesheets in the same format that were used by the municipalities 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 300 years ago. This is 2020. There is a product that exists, and a lot of governments moved to that, where we could say, when you ask me this question, if I'm comfortable with I want every single line, when I can say yes, because I know that those are prepared based on the information that's derived from the system. That's not manual, it's automated. I can design, implement, and test controls of that system. And we're working with FRB to get a funding for something like that. But there is a product that our GL company offers. It's called ExecuTime, and hopefully in the next half a year, we'll be able to embark. It's not going to be an easy, it's not a product that's very easy that you turn the switch and it's on. But I think it's going to be very efficient, and it's going to be very effective for managing what's in managing the accrual and payout of city employees' time upon retirement.
And the New York State Comptroller's Office actually recommended that we implement a time system, correct?
That's absolutely right, yes.
So everyone in the city will be using a time management system in the future?
I hope so, yes.
Oh, they will, thanks to you and thank you.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. Thank you, Ina, for this report.
Thank
So,
you.
Okay,
Ina,
this is Donna. One of the things I want to say is that what we're doing with this bond, 2.7 million, these were obligations, like Ina said, that were made before we arrived. Since we've been here, we have been trying to vet it as much as possible, but without a good timekeeping system, we can only go by so much when we vet them. So again, the timekeeping system will be a good system for us, where we would have better accountability. We're starting to work with the department heads, because again, it's operational and finance. So operational means that the department heads are keeping track of time that people are taking or they're accumulating to ensure that we're where we are and exactly where we are, so that it could eliminate some portion of the high payout.
All right, Mike, did you have a question, Mike?
What I'd like to work with Ina is the long-term, beyond this year, payouts, obligations that are due and payable and known, and we'll incorporate that into the 5-year plan.
Yeah.
Yes, Mike, that will be incorporated into our multi-year plan. That, matter of fact, that will be a requirement that we have that in the multi-year plan.
Thank you.
Right. The longer term goal of the multi-year plan is to end this practice at some of borrowing, because this should be an operational expense that goes into the budget. So, but that's what the long range plan is going to help do. We're no longer just looking at a single year. We're going to be looking out a number of years and do some long range planning. So any more questions from the council? Okay, I guess we'll open it up to the public.
Okay, I have Roy Lester. Go ahead, Roy.
Mute myself first. Okay, first of all, on the sheets, last year you gave us an amount of remaining payouts. There was a $6 million total payout amount, and well, not the remaining, just the total payout amount. But this year, it conspicuously is missing. How come? Okay, I don't want to take my time waiting for that. I just wanted to note that. But
should I answer? Should I? Is that
right,
the
as
point?
long as it's not out of my
Yeah,
time.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay,
Ina.
I will try. So this column was not deliberately omitted from the schedule. I just want to go a little bit over the process of how this resolution is prepared. The resolution is actually prepared in collaboration with the bond council. So what was presented with the package that went out for the city council is basically the support that was requested by the bond council, who helps us write this resolution, and that's what needed for the resolution. I cannot answer why was that information that's absolutely irrelevant to the amount that's been borrowed was included in prior years. However, I can tell you that this information is readily available. It can be posted on the city's website for your or anyone's inspection. However, the total payout is irrelevant for the amount being that we're bonding or asking. We're not actually bonding yet. We're asking for the city council authorization to bond. So there is a lot of other auxiliary information, I'm sure, that'd be interesting to see, but it's not included. And if that's something that's of interest, we can definitely post it and make it available for everyone to see.
Okay, Ina, I
Okay,
have to
and
say,
Mr. Lester, this is Donna
Yes.
speaking.
Yes.
I don't know what has been done in the past in the city. We don't deliberately delete any financial information. We give whatever is needed. And as Ina just said, this resolution is for the bond document itself.
And you don't think,
so
Donna,
we
you
can
don't...
purposely, can I finish, Mr. Lester? We don't purposely delete any information so that we could try to purposely mislead the public.
I'm not saying that, Donna, but Ina's saying it's not relevant. You don't think it's relevant how much more of these particular people we have to go to pay them out? Because when we looked at it last year, there was $6 million in payouts.
Mm-hmm.
All we see now is what we're paying this year, which is the 2.7. How much more
Okay.
of these
All right,
particular
Mr.
people do we have to pay out? I'm not talking about
Mr.
new retirees. I'm talking about these particular people.
Okay,
That's
so
relevant.
what you're asking, sir, what you're
Yes.
asking is a valid question. We can get you that information. However, what we're asking the council to give us approval for is the $2.7 million for what we need to bond. So it's actually two different items. We can get you that information if you like. Right now, we're asking for the $2.7 million for this particular payout.
And Donna, I think it's relevant to all of us taxpayers how much more we have to pay on this particular debt.
I didn't disagree with you, Mr. Lester. What I said was that we can get you the information, but for this particular bond, what we're doing is this language, as Ina explained, is for the bond document.
We all know that, Donna. We all know that. Okay? But you know what? I'm a taxpayer and I listen and I find out that we still don't have, that we're still using, as Ina said, a time system that they used 200 or 300 years ago, writing it down. And you guys have been in power now since January. We've talked about this for close to 8 years, having a software that is legitimate, having software where we can keep track of things. And it's still, nothing's been done. I mean, I know you guys are talking about it, but it's costing us money every month that we don't do it. And it's not as complicated as a system. I know that from the school district. The school district has systems that work and they've had them for many years. But you know what? What we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out how not to have this. And all of you guys, John and Don and Karen and Liz and Mike have all spoken about how we can't continue to do this, yet we continue to do it. Now, this year we had a payroll reduction of 2.1 million, but that didn't help us, it seems. We also had a bond. Well, we borrowed another 4.25 million in April. That doesn't seem to help either. We still need to borrow. Now, I know we put this in our budget a long time ago, but this year we went up over $600,000 in our debt service. We're now at 13.5 million a year that we pay just to pay off our debts. And you look at the history, over the last year, we did this back in July of 2019. We borrowed 2.1 million for separation. Then in September, we authorized, I didn't say we borrowed, but we authorized issuance of 800,000 worth of bonds, 900 million worth of bonds, and 15 million worth of bonds. Now, granted, we got some of that money back. We will be getting some of that money back from the state, but it's once again borrowing. Then in April, we borrowed $4.2 million. Well, we put deficiency notes, and that has to be paid back within the 2-year period. I don't know where we're going to get that money from. But I'm not seeing any systemic effort to stem this particular tide. Now, I know you have a 5-year plan, and I'm hoping in that 5-year plan, we're going to see something like that. But as a taxpayer, it very much concerns me. I don't see that we're going in a direction that's going to stop this from happening. I've heard every one of the candidates say that it's not a good thing to have, that we
Excuse me, Mr. Lester, just wanted to let you know that your 3 minutes are up. If you could please summarize your remarks in this last few seconds, greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, I just would like to see something so that each year we're not going through the exact same thing like some sort of Groundhog Day movie.
Okay. So thanks for your comments. And where you were talking about the time thing, I'm not clear if you didn't hear what Ina said, that we were implementing a timekeeping system. So
You said you're looking for the money right now.
Correct, because money.
So you're not implementing something you can't buy yet.
That actually is not the case, Roy.
That's what Ina said. That's what Ina said.
Donna and Ina are working with the New York State Financial Review Board to see if maybe they can help us with paying for a timekeeping system.
Right, they were going to pay for it, but their money's all frozen right now because of the state budget issues.
Okay, and I also want to say that I have implemented at least 3 payroll systems in my career, and it is not something that you just do in 2 or 3 months. There's shifts and union and 4 different unions, and this is a huge project that's going to take a lot of time and resources, especially on top of COVID and everything else. It cannot be done in 2 months or 8 months. Roy, we have not forgotten that we were residents just a short time ago, and it's not going to be done overnight.
Okay, thank you. Any other raised hands?
Nope. I'm not seeing anyone else.
I don't see anyone else, but we did get, because we made the announcement of the transition to Zoom over the weekend, we got a few questions before then that I'd like to read in and get responses to or comments to, if you don't mind. Marie Brutus sent an email, and there's 6 questions here. I don't know how we would cap it at a 3-minute mark because it goes beyond that, but I'll go, I guess, question by question, or do you want me to read all of them in the entirety and then?
I guess we can go question by question, and Oneida, I guess you can time his reading, and when we hit 3 minutes, we'll stop.
We'll go from there. I'm omitting a name, but a timekeeper was mentioned on this previous timekeeper was mentioned on the separation payment as having received a $34,000 payout. Believe this person was terminated. However, it's also Marie Brutus's understanding that this person was rehired after she was fired and just transferred the money from another budget line at a council meeting last month to pay her new salary. Please explain how this is legal or different from giving separation pay to current employees.
Okay, the answer to that question is, and I've answered it a few times, when we had the layoff and the employee in question was a CSEA employee and was a timekeeper, the timekeeper's position was eliminated, which means that they can get their payout and move forward. But when we had positions available, we opened those positions up and we talked to CSEA and allowed the CSEA employees to apply for the position. If an employee that was from CSEA was hired in the new position, they came in at the new salary, but they do not carry any of their benefits or anything that they've received from the last position forward. The position that this employee came into was a position that was created as secretary. It was decided that the police department needed a secretary because the position that was eliminated was a timekeeper. And so money was granted and moved from other departments to fund that particular position. So when the employee came back at a less rate than what they left at, they also came back starting as if they were a brand new employee.
Right, so that person's banks all went to zero and they're starting all over again.
Absolutely, and they are starting off at a lower rate.
Okay, so the payment this person is getting is the payout of their banks from their old position, and now they're being treated like a new employee.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, next question. There are some individuals on this list that I believe you have threatened to file lawsuits against to recoup previous separation payments. Why are you bonding to pay people who you are suing to claw back funds from?
That's a legal matter. We don't discuss, and that's a legal matter that we cannot discuss.
Okay. Number 3, I read online that you deliberately excluded the aggregate total. So this was sort of asked and answered, so I'll give Marie some deference and skip the question. It was just about that line that Roy Lester had spoken to. Number 4, John Bendo and others repeatedly argue that bonding for separation pay was not something they could support. Karen McGinnis was quoted last year saying separation payment bonding is being used by the city as a mechanism to cop out of making long-term business decisions. You've already committed to doing it with this particular bond, but can you please promise to never bond for separation pay again? You'll have a one shot of cash from the Superblock pilot you've advocated for. So that's probably how you'll manage, right?
All right. So just to refresh everyone's memory, Marie Brutus is actually a former male employee. This is a fake name they keep submitting things under. As I said earlier, the goal is to stop bonding for separation payments, and that's what the long-term financial planning is all about. This isn't flipping a switch. I mean, if you wanted to, I guess, if you wanted to stop bonding for separation payments, we could have raised taxes. I think, let me see here, for 2.7 million, that would have been a about a 10% tax increase. So what we're trying to do is do this as looking as a whole, not just individual issues, but looking at the financial structure of the city as a whole and fixing the whole system as much as possible rather than doing one-offs. Regarding, what was that about the Superblock payout?
It was, you'll have a one shot of cash from the Superblock pilot you advocated for. So that's probably how you'll manage, correct?
I don't know. We're not getting anything from the Superblock, so I'm not sure what that comment even has to do with this. We're not getting anything from the IDA is getting something from the Superblock, but we're not. And as far as advocating for it, all you got to do is go back and watch the video. I spoke on this, and I certainly, what I said was not advocating for it. So whatever. I mean, Marie's going to keep trying, though.
I think the thing is that this administration has made several business decisions to lower costs for the city and increase revenue. And yet we still have to borrow for these separation payments. And we will probably have to borrow in the future because the severe mismanagement for decades and decades is not going to be fixed with a one shot. So I can't undo, none of us can undo decades of people mismanaging this city. And so we, even though we do not want to borrow, and Ms. Gaydon is making, and Ina are making tremendous business changes, this is how bad it is that we still have to borrow.
Yeah, I mean, Karen and John, I totally agree with that. When I looked at everything financially, I couldn't take a breath for at least 3 to 5 years looking out. So if you think, we collectively think that this is going to resolve this year, this month, by a couple of buildings going up, no, it's going to take a year in, year long. That's why the multi-year financial plan is very important. Thank you.
Is there more?
Okay, so, yep, number 5, the resolution says not to exceed 2.7 million in bonds. Can you promise that you will not bond for any other additional separation payments during this fiscal year? If you must pay more, please make the hard decision to cut salaries and cut costs elsewhere in the budget. That's what you and Gaydon are required to do. As Karen said, bonding is a cop-out that our children and grandchildren will have to deal with.
So one of the things, we can't make a promise to anything, and you can't just go and cut salaries across the board. That's a union decision, and let's make sure that the union heard that statement that Gaydon and Bendo should be going and cutting salaries. That is something that has to be negotiated. That's why we have unions. What I will say is that we would not have to borrow if we had a solid fund balance. If we actually had a savings account where we could go and say, we can pull from this money to pay for some of the debt. But all of that money is gone. So we are working on replacing a fund balance and trying to balance out the operating expenses based on the revenues that we are bringing in. And so that's why the 2.7 million was in the budget. We are watching the budget as closely as possible. When we make decisions about increasing expenses, we look to see where we can decrease expenses so that the bottom line of the budget remains the same. So we can't make a promise on anything we don't know what the future holds. But I can say that we are working as hard as we can by putting a multi-year plan together so that we can be back on the right footing.
And,
Okay.
and it's worth noting that the reason we don't have a fund balance is because Marie Brutus and his administration wiped it out.
Okay,
Maybe
last
I
que-
can add a little bit to that, if you don't mind. So
Go ahead, Ina.
we have city's financial statements posted online. You can see them and access them through the city's website. And you could see that the audited financial statements show the compensated absences are in excess of $32 million, basically $33 million. What that means that if city had to pay out all of those termination pays at June 30th, 2019, because that's the date of those financial statements, the city would be on the hook for $33 million. That's well in excess of everyone's salaries at the city. So this is something, this issue, it's really not something that's very, that can be really solved with one little, hammer. It's $33 million. And we will have to work very hard and make sure that we both operationally and financially address this and make sure that we build a payout into our operating budgets. But on page, just give me 1 second. On page 54 of the city's financial statements for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2019, you could see in the disclosure the amount that the city owes for the compensated absences at that time was in excess of $32 million.
Okay, thank you, Ina. Is there more or?
Last question from Ms. Brutus is, why can't this wait until later this month when public meetings resume?
Okay, I guess A, because we got to pay our retirees, and B, we're having a public comment session, public
now.
hearing right now. So it's seems like a it's, I guess if you're just looking to try to make some kind of point, I guess, but. All right,
Okay.
any more?
I have a few more here. So from Mr. Robert Saminsky, he references the public hearing and the language in the public hearing and asks the following 2 questions. How is this going to affect our City of Long Beach residents' property taxes? And then the second part is, in the City of Long Beach's multi-year plan, does the city manager address these separation payments? Are they projected to be same, lower, or higher in the next 5 years? So how does this affect taxes?
It doesn't affect this tax. It's because we budgeted for it and we've already said what we were going to raise taxes to in the current budget. As we go through the multi-year plan and look at the payouts and look at the potential future retirement, I can't at this point right now say whether it will be higher or lower because we're reviewing the financial plans right now, the multi-year plan right now.
Okay, and then the last in writing is from Eileen Hessian. Regarding separation payments, please explain columns 10 and 11 that was in the budget packet or the agenda packet, why retirees receive money for FICA and Medicare.
FICA and Medicare that's on that line item is what we have to pay, what the city has to pay. And so when it says total, that's the total payout. What we have to pay to the employer or employee, I'm sorry, and the employer's share of the taxes.
Okay. Second part, also some retirees are being paid for 2,000 hours over a 30-year career. That would be 66 hours per year. How is that possible? Do they really have that many vacations, sick days per year? Have they never taken a day off?
Wait, 66 hours is a week and a half, right?
Yeah, 40-hour weeks, yes.
Is she confusing 66 days perhaps without a week and a half a year is, I'm not sure on that one.
Okay. Bonding for 2.7, sorry, was there something else?
I don't know. I don't know if Donna has anything to add. I'm just
No,
not.
I'm not sure about that question.
Yeah, I'm not clear on that. 66 hours is a week and a half a year. So if somebody didn't use a week and a half of sick or vacation or they had comp time, that's yeah. Okay.
Okay. Bonding for 2.7 million, we have to borrow. We have had to borrow in the past for separation payments. I understand many police will be retiring this year and next. How will we pay for them? How much borrowing, raising taxes can we do? Are we sure these amounts are correct? I'll stop there. I just got a couple more other sort of shorter pointed questions.
I think the amounts are we sure the amounts are correct? We answered that question already.
Okay.
Because all of this, you know, we're going back on what history is. What we have to do is go forward. We check, we vet everything that we have now that comes before us. What was the other question?
How will we pay for this? How much borrowing, raising taxes can we do?
What we're doing in the multi-year plan for the future is that's what we're trying to determine. That's not something we're ready to determine right now.
Okay, and then what is happening with the lawsuit that was started about past illegal payments?
Legal matter. We can't discuss legal matters.
Okay, and then what is being done to amend the system? What is the city council, city manager, union, arbitrator doing to remove this burden from taxpayers?
So I will start, Donna, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
I think that partially I addressed that question by talking about implementing a timekeeping system. That's on a going forward basis. As I mentioned before, city's liability at June 30th, 2019, that predated any one of our tenures here, was in excess of $32 million. So we will do our utmost and the best to make sure that however that liability is paid out is the most advantageous to the city residents. And on a going forward basis, we just need to make sure that we operationally affect how time is accrued and paid out in a system. And we from the studies that we've seen that are published from the governments that had implemented systems like that, there are significant savings to be found by implementing a timekeeping system. The thing is that I don't want to trivialize it. It's not going to happen by just turning on a switch. Like Vice President Karen McGinnis mentioned, that we have a lot of unions. We have 4 unions, and it's going to be a process, and it's going to be not a week-long implementation process, but it's a necessary thing for the city to take upon. So I hope I addressed it.
So that was it on this agenda item for the public hearing.
Okay, then I guess we can move on to the
Yes.
actual agenda.
Yes. All right. So on to the calendar. So item number 1, approval of minutes of prior meeting of August 11th, 2020.
All right. I had one minor on the 4th page, just it's a grammatical thing. The second paragraph, it said President Bendo, Ms. Treston for a brief update on how the city was doing with the sentence. It should be President Bendo asked Ms. Treston for a brief update.
Okay.
Any of the other council members have any comments or questions on this? All right. I don't know if the public has any comments or questions. Did we get?
Public, this is a procedural. Public does not wait.
Okay, then we can move on.
All right. So we're just going to go into the voting for this item. Who will introduce and move the adoption of item number 1, approval of minutes of prior meeting of August 11th, 2020?
I will.
Okay.
I'll second Mike.
All right. And Councilmember Delory,
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Yes.
Councilmember Treston,
Yes.
Vice President McInnes,
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And the next was a public hearing ordinance authorizing financing for the cost of the fiscal year 2020 to 2021 and separation payments to and for the benefit of employees of the city upon separation from employment, stating the estimated total cost thereof is 2.7 million, appropriating said amount therefore, and authorizing the issuance of not to exceed 2.7 million bonds of said city to finance said appropriation. Voting will be held on Tuesday, September 15th. A hearing has been held on this item already. Item number 2 was the public hearing resolution granting waiver of off-street parking requirements regarding premises 901 West B Street, street floor, Long Beach, New York, regarding skincare and home goods retail store. A hearing has been held on this item already. Item number 3, public hearing resolution granting waiver of off-street parking requirements regarding premises 240 West Park Avenue, street floor, Long Beach, New York, regarding personal training studio. A hearing has been held on this item already. Item number 4, resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement for water sewer testing at the water treatment plant with sole responsible bidder.
Okay, I'm gonna bet that's a Commissioner Miranda one.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you. This is for our regulatory requirements for testing quality at the sewer plant, which is regulated by the Clean Water Act and administered and regulated by the New York State DEC. That testing is $23,630 in cost for next year, which is an increase of $624 over last year. It's also for testing water quality at the water plant and at the various wells. That is administered through the Safe Drinking Water Act and administered by the Nassau County Health Department. That had an increase of $2,470 this year, for a total increase in the contract of $3,094 over last year. However, in the water supply side, there are additional sampling requirements this year because of new regulations by New York State Health Department for PFOAs and for 1,4-dioxane, which neither we have, but we still need to test for them. So this will be the water quality testing. Pace Labs has always had our contract. There's very few labs that can do all the testing because they need to be certified in each area that they're testing. If anybody has any questions.
And Pace is the company that is doing it now for the city, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Any questions from the council members? All right. Any questions from the public?
Roy Lester. Hold on.
Okay, am I unmuted?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, John, you had said that the cost was 23,000 and but on the resolution, you're talking about 65,000 Pace.
23,000 of that is for the testing in the sewer plant. $41,905 is for testing in the water plant. So it covers
Okay, and
both our requirements for the water plant and the wastewater plant.
okay. And I guess the question is, we have a water purification department. And in that department, we have a budget of $1.18 million. And we have chemicals and laboratory equipment and stuff like that. How come we can't do this testing ourselves?
The equipment for this would be very, very expensive. We're testing for synthetic organic chemicals, probably over 100 of them. We're testing for organics. We're testing for over 20 or 30 different metals. We're testing for suspended solids. The kind of testing that we do in the lab within the plant is to test our iron removal and our chlorine residuals to make sure we're running the plants at the right levels. Those are things that are ongoing, but these are tests that are done on, as an example, the 10 bacteriological tests every week that have to be sent out to the lab. We don't have the equipment, and to equip a whole lab like this would not make sense.
And does the county have their own lab?
Nassau County Health Department has their lab for testing, for doing follow-up testing and check samples for all the water supplies in Nassau County, but they don't do the normal testing for the water suppliers.
So, I mean, Nassau County could not do the testing. They have to send their stuff out too?
Certain parts of they're not qualified in certain areas to test, so those would also have to be sent out for them. But they do like follow-up samples to double check on our samples, particularly like bacteriological samples. They do that for all the water suppliers.
Okay, all right. Okay, thanks.
Okay, any more questions from the public? All right, going once, going twice.
Nope.
And on to item 5.
Okay, item number 5, resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement for the demolition and removal of the 1.0 million gallon Park Place standpipe with the lowest responsible bidder.
Okay, John, I'm guessing that's you again?
Yes, this is a tank that was built in 1910. It's 110 years old. It's certainly outlived its useful life. In addition, this is an old style standpipe type tank, and as a result, out of the 1 million gallons, to maintain the right pressure in the system, we can only use about 250,000 gallons of that. So removing this tank will now open up space for us to next year build a brand new water storage tank that we'll be able to use the entire storage in, which will be 1,250,000 gallons worth of storage, and actually all of it usable. So this will certainly improve supply to the system.
And this is done by what? They section it and then remove the pieces?
Yes, this is, by the way, we received 7 bids and they ranged from $498,000 to $2.6 million. The company that had the lowest bid of 498, Walgo Enterprises, has done several tanks on the island. And we've had our engineers vet them, and they are qualified to do the work. There is lead on that tank. So as they make cuts, they will clean up the lead at the areas where they make cuts inside and exterior of the tank. And each piece will be cut down and lowered. And Mr. McNally and I have already had a conversation about saving the logo on the tank.
All right. Any questions from the council?
Commissioner, how tall is the standpipe? I'm not knowledgeable in this area.
The standpipe is approximately 145 feet in height. So every foot of height gives you a half a pound of pressure approximately. So as a result of the fact that that tank really is filled with water from 0 elevation to 150 feet, we can really only use the first 25 or 30 feet of that tank before the pressures drop. So
thank you.
Jimmy Hoffa's not in there, is he?
He's not, but we just approved Verizon to go in and remove all their old cell equipment off of the tower. When they're done removing their equipment, there's also a storage building they have that's temperature controlled. They're going to donate that to the city, which will give us another building. We already have one of them, which will give us another building for record storage that'll maintain records in an air-controlled environment.
Good. All right, any more questions from the council? All right, any questions from the public? Okay, going once, going twice. Okay, on to item 6.
Item number six, resolution appointing a treasurer for the city of Long Beach.
Okay, anybody, Donna, you need to say anything on this? So it's pretty straightforward.
Well, the reason we are looking at making me the treasurer, and it's a no additional pay. The last 2 treasurers, the current treasurer you have and the treasurer before that had no financial experience. And if you look at the charter, you will see what the treasurer's responsibilities are. And we have started putting, for example, the financials out. We do have to get the July financials out. So it is important that when you have a treasurer, that the treasurer understands finances and they understand the documents that they read. So, for example, the bond itself, our current treasurer will be signing off on the bond, but doesn't understand the documents that they're signing. And so that's why, not that I really want to do anything else, but I do read the financial documents that the treasurer signs off anyway, to ensure that they are correct along with the comptroller. So I'll answer any questions.
All right. Any questions from the council? All right. Any questions from the public? And again, going once.
So I'm not currently seeing any online, but we did receive some questions over the weekend from members of the public online. So from Lisa Santinos, President Bendo, are you familiar with the section of the charter, RE, the treasurer, and the duties of the position under that section?
Yes, that's why we're making the change.
Okay. And then lastly, Eileen Hessian, 3 questions regarding item number 6, appointing Donna Gaden as treasurer. Will she receive a salary for this job on top of her city manager salary?
No.
Who is treasurer now?
Dave Frazier.
Oh, and I guess there was not, I may have misread that. So it was 2 questions. That's it.
Okay. All right, then on to item 7.
Okay, so item number 7, resolution authorizing publication of a notice of public hearing of an application to waive the off-street parking requirements for premises 28 West Park Avenue, 2nd floor, Long Beach, New York, regarding Early Learning Education Center. This item is for publication only. A hearing will be held on September 15th at 7 p.m.
Okay, so I guess on to the voting.
Okay. We will now move on to the voting. Who will introduce and move the adoption of item number 4, resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement for water sewer testing at the water treatment plant with the sole responsible bidder?
I will.
Okay, Delore. Who will second?
I will.
Councilmember Delore,
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Yes.
Councilmember Treston,
Yes.
Vice President McInnes,
Yes.
President Bendo?
Yes.
Okay. Who will introduce and move the adoption of item number 5, resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement for the demolition and removal of the 1.0 million gallon Park Place standpipe with the lowest responsible bidder?
I will.
I'll second John.
Okay.
All right. Councilmember Delore,
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Yes.
Councilmember Treston,
Yes.
Vice President McInnes,
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
All right. Who will introduce and move the adoption of item number 6, resolution appointing a treasurer for the city of Long Beach?
I will.
Okay. Who will second?
I will.
Councilmember Delore,
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes, and thank you very much.
All right. Vice President McInnes,
Gladly, yes. Thank you.
President Bendo.
What's not to like? She's going to do it for free. Yes.
All right. And Who will introduce and move the adoption of item number 7, resolution authorizing publication of a notice of public hearing of an application to waive the off-street parking requirements for premises 28 West Park Avenue, second floor, Long Beach, New York, regarding Early Learning Education Center. This item is for publication only. A hearing will be held on September 15th at 7 p.m.
I will.
Okay. Who will second?
I will.
Okay. Councilmember Delory,
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Yes.
Councilmember Treston,
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis,
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
All right. We will now close the meeting. Who will make a motion to close the meeting?
I will.
Mhm. Who will second?
I will.
Councilmember Delory,
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Yes.
Councilmember Treston,
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis,
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
All right.
All right. I guess on to good and welfare. So was this similar where that we got some written and we'll do the live? Did we get written?
We got written, but I was only sent the names, so we'll treat these, the written ones, as we have in the past. I'll read off the names if you like, so that people know that we are in receipt of their questions, and then we'll, there's not too many of them, so we'll work to get them out well in advance of the next meeting. So it was,
Okay.
people that sent in questions were David Palpatine, Tony Crisalio, Yolanda Cuomo, Sarah Lai, and Eileen Hessian.
Okay. And I guess we'll post those like the with the other answers. All right. So I guess for the live portion, raise your hand if you want to speak.
I have Roy Lester.
Come on up, Roy.
Okay. John, I was at each of the IDA hearings, and I can't necessarily agree with your position that you weren't pro, but I understand your position because you're looking at the money that the city's going to get. But a couple of things bothers me. The developer was very clear that the condo portion of the development is not a moneymaker for them. A matter of fact, they are losing so much money on the condo that they needed the tax pilot on the rentals so they can make that money up. I mean, we've heard that how many times? Do you remember hearing that?
Go ahead.
Okay. So my question is, what happens if they decide not to build the condos? Then we get none of that tax money, and we're basically subsidizing them for the next 11 years, where it's coming out of our pockets.
Well,
and there's nothing in the agreement that I saw that requires them to build the condos.
Okay, that's a pretty big leap there on what they might not.
If they're losing millions of dollars building these condos, why is it a big leap, John?
I'm not sure where you got that from. I didn't hear that, so I don't know where you're getting that
Were you
from.
at the meetings, John?
Of course I was. I was sitting
we-
next to you.
Yeah, where they said, we can't build this project. We can't build it. It's too expensive unless we get the money from the rentals. So that clearly meant that just the condos, they couldn't do it on just the condos. They were clear about that.
What they
And
were
that's-
saying
this
was
goes all the way
what they-
back to
what- what they-
January.
What they were saying was because of the size of the project, because there was you might have brought it up about because they also did the Aqua, which was a much smaller project. They said because of the size of the project, there were certain financial targets they had to hit to get financing. And the only way they could hit those targets was with the pilot. So I'm not saying I agree or disagree with that, but they convinced the IDA at least.
Oh, I understand that, John, but is there any provision that the city has that if they decide not to build the condos, that we have any recourse?
Well, I mean, I don't work for the IDA. I don't know. My understanding is it's a package. And so if they decide suddenly not to do, that's a question for the IDA. We can ask them. I don't know. Mr. McNally used to work for an IDA. Do you happen to know the answer to that?
Well, this is the only IDA project that they had. They clearly said that, where there was both the condo and the rental. Most IDAs are strictly one or the other.
Correct. He did say that, this was that was the first time they've done a project like this.
Right.
Yeah, and you astutely brought that up, Roy. I mean, and I can't speak to the specifics, but you know, all of the IDA documents and agreements will become part of the closing documents for the project itself. And if they don't follow through with the agreements that they have with the IDA, as with any contract, it becomes, you know, subject to default. So if they
that's not
don't
part
build
of the
what they
contract,
promised,
John.
I don't know that any of us have actually seen the contract, Roy. They're being drawn up subsequent to that meeting, and you know, I can tell you what these bond books look like, about yay thick, and that if they don't follow through with what they have agreed to follow through with the IDA, it's an issue of default, and basically the entire subsidy or abatement would get clawed back.
Okay. And one question, how come we didn't have a public meeting regarding this project, the city council? When it came to the iStar, we had lots of public meetings, and we didn't have a single public meeting where the people could tell the city council what they thought, because Richard Kessler was very clear. He, you know, John, he actually put you quite on the spot saying, what does the city council think about it? The city council would have had to have had feedback from the public, and we never had a meeting to give any feedback.
There was lots of public meetings. You and I both went to them. They went to all the
city
civics.
council, the city council.
The city council members attended those meetings. So I'm not
John,
sure.
Seriously, John, seriously, the city council did not have a single meeting where they asked the public what their opinion was. Not one meeting. You had one meeting where this was addressed, and that was a work session where nobody knew what the agenda was beforehand, and the public was not allowed to speak.
Right, because that was, the work sessions are us getting information from people. That's information for the council.
Yeah, I understand what the work session is. I'm just asking how come there was not a single public meeting regarding this, so the public had the ability to tell the city council what they thought of the project.
Because it's not the city council who decides this, it's the IDA. And the IDA had 2 hearings, which you and I both participated in both of them, plus the actual meeting, which you and I participated in. And that is where the public makes their sentiments known, is to the IDA. They're the ones that vote on the pilot.
Then why do we have so many meetings for iStar, John?
Just be
That
mindful.
you
your
insisted
3
on.
minutes are up.
Wait.
Well, I've been keeping track of it, and my speaking hasn't been 3 minutes. But go ahead.
I have been pausing you in between while everyone is responding. I've been pausing it, and when you speak, I've
Okay.
been playing it.
Okay. Is the time up? Oh, okay. So,
Yes.
Roy, you can call me if you want to discuss this, but because we got other people we have to be fair to. But again, it's the IDA who makes this decision. The IDA, it was the IDA's hearings. The meetings you're talking about for iStar were not, there was one city meeting, I believe. That was the one that they were required to do. I think they put together, they brought that lawyer in that kind of wouldn't really answer questions. And that was so something to do from a legal perspective so they didn't get sued. But all those other meetings that we all participated in were meetings that were organized by the residents or civic associations. They were not city meetings. That's why we held them in the library and other places. They were not city meetings. They were meetings organized by residents. So the only city meeting I recall the city having with iStar was that one that they had to have because they, in their host agreement, it said they were required to support the pilot, and that was what they did to try to meet that obligation. But all those other meetings were organized by the residents. So, but if you want to talk about this, give me a call. We can discuss this. Okay. Any other people raising their hands?
Eileen Hessian.
Okay. Hi, Eileen.
Hi, Eileen.
Hi, Eileen's here, but this is Paul speaking.
Oh, it's Paul. Stay to the right. Let's hear it.
Okay, you got it. I was under the impression that all of these meetings were conducted under Robert's Rules of Order. And under Robert's Rules of Order, the president only casts a vote if there is a tie. And I wondered how come this is the only organization I know where the president answers as part of the roll call.
Okay. So you're asking a question that I asked when I got on the council, and I was informed. I don't believe Mr. Frazier is on. Oh yeah, he is on.
still
We
on.
don't follow Robert Rules of Order, which I was a little surprised to find out. But Dave, maybe you can explain it.
Yeah, Robert's Rules of Order is really written for large legislative bodies, such as like the state legislature, things of that nature. The New York Conference of Mayors, in their training, recommends that smaller bodies do not adopt Robert's Rules of Order as a whole, but take bits and pieces of it as needed into their own rules of order. And with the way our charter is, the president of the council, he's a member of the full voting member of the council, and there's his vote counts as much as everybody else's.
I appreciate that explanation. The bits and pieces, choose as it fits you. Okay,
yes.
I got it. But I very much appreciate the efforts that are being made on behalf of this city council and the fiscal responsibility which is being brought by this city council, which has somehow been absent in previous administrations. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Did you want to say anything else? Did you want to bring up about the boardwalk?
Why, thank you so much. The vast majority of people out there, 90% or better, adhere to the protocol of staying to the right, so that people that are heading east are on the south side of the boardwalk, people heading west are on the north side of the boardwalk. By doing that, we definitely keep from meeting people head on, which makes a number of people uncomfortable. We previously had signs that said keep to the right, and those are no longer present. I certainly would like to see that present once again. Hey, we have things about all sorts of things, about keeping your masks on, about maintaining social distance. Those signs are up there, but now the signs do not address keeping to the right. It's a simple thing, and I would very much like to see that not only on signs, but also enforced by the folks out there that are the seasonal employees or the seasonal enforcers. I'd certainly invite the police up to the boardwalk at 7 o'clock in the morning or at 6:30 in the morning to watch people on motorized vehicles or people walking their dogs. I'm a runner. I've been running up there for over 30 years. And these are the kind of things I see not only as a safety, but as a comfort level and something that definitely is important. As recently as today, there were 4 additional cases out here on the island for the folks who are getting COVID. We probably are going to get up there to 1,000 people in a couple of days. So those are the kind of things we'd like to avoid, and can be avoided if everybody on the same side of the boardwalk is heading the same direction. You're not meeting people face on.
Okay. John, is that something when the beach and boardwalk team meet that they can discuss?
Certainly. And I will just say that somebody or some bodies did not appreciate the signage and the rules as much as Paul did, and went on a rampage and broke or stole all of the directional signs that were once up there. So We've done a redesign so that they could be put back up in different locations, that they won't be subject to that quite so easily. And we will be ordering them pretty soon, because our supposition is that, you know, we will continue to, even though the numbers are pretty good right now, minus little bumps, the supposition is that as we get into fall, we're going to see a rebound, and until a vaccine comes out that is widely accepted by the public, these regulations are going to be in play for a bit. So we're going to be reordering those signs, or different versions of those signs, to get up back on the boardwalk.
Many thanks, John.
You bet.
President Bendo, I think on the boardwalk, I believe all the lights have been done or almost completed. The lighting, boardwalk lights.
That's a Commissioner Mirando question. But
All the lights are done now. When I
Okay.
was walking tonight, I checked them all out.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
All right. Can we electrify those new signs? All right. Thanks, Paul. Anyone else? Any more raised hands?
I'm not seeing any.
Okay. Then not seeing
May I
any.
just said there's a, you know, it's not a raised hand in the chat. Ms. Blanchett has asked that we consider resurrecting the ad hoc bike committee that Commissioner Mirando started. And also note, it's not a bike, it's a bike path, not a bike lane.
On the boardwalk.
Which committee did you say?
There's I don't think it's in the charter. It's an ad hoc committee that was discussed with the previous acting city manager.
Oh, okay.
All right. So with that, seeing no other raised hands, I guess, thanks for joining. Wait, yeah, John, you got a look on your face like you're waiting to say something, because then we got to let Liz talk about the census.
Well, that's what I was
Go
just going to
to?
remind you, that Councilwoman Treston likely has a last word on the subject.
Yep, I was going to let her get.
Yes, she does. Please fill it out. I know that there's a little bit about a rumor that you've already filled it out and people are knocking on your door. Tell them to go away. You filled it out. They're just doing their job. Your job is to fill out the census. And if you filled it out, you can politely tell them that you've already completed it. Have a nice evening.
All right. Are we still below? Are we still below the curve?
We are still below the curve. I'm going to be meeting with Assemblywoman Miller and Legislator Ford to discuss the barrier island in total, because money that helps Atlantic Beach, Lido, and Point Lookout certainly will help the city as well.
Well, and just remember, it determines how much we get in federal and state aid. So
And that Army Corps project.
And so if we're undercounted, we get less aid. And we don't, that's certainly something we do not need to happen. So.
And well, before we go, and then just on a side note, if people could just let us know if they prefer the Zoom. I personally found this much easy as we're going through the glitches to be able to once again talk to people. So for the future, when the second wave comes, etc.
Oh, so Liz, this is a Zoom meeting and the prior ones were
WebEx.
Okay.
So thank you very much.
All right.
Night.
Oh, and by the way, we'll be having a working meeting next Thursday. We are going to try to do it live, to go back to doing a live meeting. If we can make all the logistics work out between now and then. And the goal also is to try to have the next city council meeting be a live meeting as well. So trying to get back to some more normalcy. And so with that, good night, everyone. Thanks for staying with us. And we'll see you next Thursday. Have a good night.
Good night. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Bye.
Folks.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, David.
Thank you,
Good
Lynn.
night.
Good job, Oneida, and good job, Jamie.
Yep.
Thanks. Good night.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Night.
stop the stream and stop the
Yeah,
recording.
doing it now.